Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from the Federalist dated December 1st. It says, Beware of media sanitizing anti Semitism with phony Jewish sources. Yes, this is one of the things that I've seen since the Israel Hamas war broke out is that there are a lot of media folks that are using people that call themselves Jewish that actually aren't. And by that I mean like either they're really not Jewish or they're people that are just Jewish in name only and don't actually really care about any of this, and using those as like the experts. So it doesn't really stack up, but I'm glad this was written because I did want to go over this. And Josh Hammer is someone that should absolutely be listened to about this sort of stuff. He's a very good authority on it. It says, for those who doggedly cling to the notion that anti Semitism in America is a right wing problem, wake up. It's no longer 1955. Says a number of corporate media outlets are not making it clear that Jewish Voice for Peace and If Not Now are representative of Jewish Americans. And by the way, if you've never heard of those groups, that's what I meant at the very beginning when I say like essentially people that are doing, I guess what I would call it is Jew face, if you will, to use a purposely derogatory term about it. So that's what those groups are, is that they call themselves Jewish groups and they're not really Jewish. As for example, the Associated Press has labeled them Jewish advocacy groups. This is a result of ignorance at best and malice at worst. We should care because the reporting is having two dangerous effects. First, it's causing many to view Jewish Americans as rather insane, because those groups are far leftist groups and they are insane. There's many Christians who intuitively support the Jewish state are left scratching their heads and frustrated, wondering why Jews loathe their ancestral biblical homeland. Second, by neglecting to sufficiently distinguish the fringe from the conventional, it's providing cover for what is actually anti Semitism. So it says anti Zionism is anti Semitism, a statement that I do agree with. The support for the State of Israel, home to the world's largest Jewish population, is a pillar of modern Judaism. 8 in 10 Jewish Americans believe that caring about Israel is an essential or important part of Jewish identity. On the other hand, JVP and INN, those are the two groups I mentioned before, the abbreviations for them, as well as similar cliques like Rabbis for Ceasefire, are opposed to Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state and therefore are anti Zionist. Even the Anti Defamation League, which no one would ever call conservative or right leaning, has branded JVP a radical anti Israel, anti Zionist group. Yeah, the ADL is also like a far left group, but they do have moments where they're like, oh, wait, we actually are Jewish and we do need to stick up for this sort of stuff. Says there's no need to beat around the bush. Anti Zionism is anti Semitism, period. Despite attempts by radicals with advanced degrees in sociology or feminist studies to argue otherwise, there is no way around it. What's more, the George Soros funded Tide Center, a left wing advocacy group, provided $650,000 and $400,000 to JVP and INN, respectively. Soros, though Jewish himself, is an ardent foe of both the Jewish people and the Jewish state of Israel. An author of this piece is a co founder of Jews Against Soros, launched earlier this year. And that would be, I believe, Josh Hammer, actually, that I mentioned earlier. And yeah, George Soros, and I've said this in other videos too, he's an actual Nazi collaborator, and no, that is not an exaggeration, and no, that is not just hyperbole. Like, he's actually on record saying that he helped Nazis hunt down, like when he was a kid, pointing out, I should say hunt down, but like point out where Jews were. Okay, so he, again, this is not a good dude, first of all, but he, like for the folks that are taking like Soros money and everything, just understand that you are standing with an actual Nazi collaborator. So good for you, you idiots. So it's Jewish anti-Semitism. By putting the words Jewish and rabbis front and center, these groups are engaged in the same rhetorical and malevolent shenanigans as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, otherwise known as North Korea. As indeed, it's also the ruse that the United Nations deploys for its Human Rights Council, which largely consists of human rights violators. Yeah, I think it's like Russia, China, Iran, Cuba, and North Korea, actually. To deceive the public, JVP and INN claim to be exactly what they are not. Call it a Jewish Napoleon complex. These groups are overcompensating for the religiously, I was going to say religiosity, but no, that's for the religiously diminutive stature. As such, no one should be fooled by the kippot, or head coverings, talit, prayer shawls, or shofarot, the ram's horns, at the protests in the streets, on the quad, and on Capitol Hill. These groups are hostile to revealed religion. This is worse than Jewish cosplay, it's desecration. If Rabbi Jessica Rosenberg, who recently interrupted President Joe Biden in Minneapolis by demanding a ceasefire, who has been hanging with a representative, it's all about the Benjamins baby, Ilhan Omar, Democrat of Minnesota, and whom LGBTQ Nation without irony tags a cisgender queer woman with a beard. Yeah, that's a little irony. Says, is an actual rabbi, then you must call us Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson on the golf course. These activists are, and more than occasional insurrections, are the impossible burgers of the Jewish world. That thing sandwiched between two warm buns might ostensibly resemble a juicy piece of beef, but once you bite into it, you immediately know it's not the real thing. So this Democrats' own anti-Semitism. It's also worth underscoring the partisan nature of anti-Semitic protests that have been garnering so much media attention. We're willing to bet that 99% of those who participated in the protests on American campuses and across cities over the past 6 weeks voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. Right? Yeah, I don't think that's even a debatable thing. For those who doggedly cling to the notion that anti-Semitism in America is a right-wing problem, wake up! It's no longer 1955. Far-right anti-Semitism exists on the edges of society and in pockets of the dark web, and it's on Twitter. I've seen it since October 7th. But the Jew hatred that's been pouring out into the open from coast to coast since the Hamas pogrom of October 7th is all coming from the left. That is true. Okay. So it says liberal Jews need to open their eyes and ears. Their intersectional allies with whom they protested during the 2017 Women's March and the Antifa Black Lives Matter 1619 riots of 2020 are not friends of the Jews. They are self admitted foes of not just the Jewish people, but also of America and Western civilization. They endeavor to defend the indefensible by siding with Hamas, an officially designated foreign terrorist organization that, among other evil acts, beheads and rapes women and babies. Well, that sounds like a fun group of people to hang around. So, anti-Jewish violence says the activists of JVP, INN, Rabbis for Ceasefire, and the like are engaged in PR hijinks. A lot of media are playing a perilous game by going along for the ride. Anti-Semitic incidents in America have increased 400% since the start of October. Pro-Hamas rioters set off smoke bombs outside the Los Angeles home of the president of APIC, which is a Jewish advocacy organization, in case you don't know. Because elsewhere in California, a Jewish man was murdered for his religion. In South, although that was the one, what's it called, where the guy got hit over the head and fell down and knocked his head and then basically died right there. Yeah. It says in South Florida, where we both live, and that's the two authors of the article, I'm guessing, one can hardly go to shul, dine at a kosher restaurant, or visit any other Jewish establishment without security present. And that's unfortunate. That shouldn't be the case in this country. It says Jews all across America, indeed all around the world, are living on edge. At a time like this, the very least we can ask of some of corporate media outlets and their potential compatriots is to refrain from sanitizing and therefore enabling anti-Semitism by giving it a Jewish veneer. Fully agree with everything in this article. Okay, and again, I highly recommend looking into these groups more when you see on like CNN or MSNBC that they're bringing up groups like these, or if you hear anything else that sounds kind of fishy, like looking into them and being like, are these people actually Jewish or are they just kind of using Jew face, as I said, and cosplaying as Jews? But let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I definitely am interested to hear what you have to say about this. So let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.